In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 cozy sweaters that I plan on knitting in 2023. So if you're in for a little project forecasting, grab your knitting and something cozy to drink, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Midweek Ramble. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. Today, I had planned something a little bit different. I was thinking I was going to do kind of a 5-pattern queue for spring into winter, all the things that I want to knit for the remaining winter of 2023, but I felt like it became a little contrived, and I wanted to think of something a little bit more long term. I didn't want to focus on the short term like this winter, because I just kind of wanted to think broad. I wanted to think over the course of 2023, what are 3 or 4 things I definitely want to knit? And so I decided I was going to go for 3 or 4 sweaters that I wanted to knit in 2023, and I settled on 4. So today, in this rather cold, dark, wintry day that we're having here, I want to share with you those 4 sweaters that I plan on knitting in 2023. Okay, so I have back here the yarn that I'm going to be using for these sweaters for 2023. These are all yarns that I had in my stash. Some acquired just recently, some have been in my stash for quite some time, but each of these are examples or single skeins from the sweater quantities that I have that I want to use for my 2023 sweater knitting. So I'm going to begin with this yarn right here. Now this yarn is for the Terrazzo Sweater by Petite Knit. That's going to be the first on my list of sweaters that I want to knit in 2023. And if you've been following the podcast, you've heard me talk about this. The Terrazzo Sweater is a really gorgeous, kind of oversized, chunky knit. It comes with a turtleneck, but I don't think that I want to knit the turtleneck. I think I want to omit that from my pattern or from my knit, because I just don't think that the turtleneck is going to serve me as well as maybe the sweater could serve me if it just had a basic crew neck. I think a turtleneck makes it very warm, meaning that I will wear it less often. We definitely have cold winters here. We have 4 solid seasons where I live in Southern Nevada. Obviously very hot summers, but we also have really cold winters, but that kind of really heavy turtleneck is just not necessary as often. And I want whatever I knit this year to be something that I can wear frequently. And kind of in honor of that, I decided to wear my No Frills pullover by Petite Knit because I get so much wear out of this sweater. I absolutely love it. It fits beautifully, and so I want my knits moving forward in 2023 to be just that functional and wearable that I can wear frequently. So all of that being said, the yarn that I have here is for my Terrazzo Sweater by Petite Knit. Now I'm using the yarn that the pattern calls for. So this is by Noro. This is Silk Garden Sock Solo. I'm gonna take the tag off here, or the label. And it's so pretty. It's just a really lovely, it says it's a single ply, but it's marled. You can see the different colors marled together in there. And it's really, really pretty. And this is actually the color that she uses for her sample. But for the mohair that I'm pairing over that, this is Fiber for the People mohair, a pale grayish green, kind of like eucalyptus leaves that have been dried. So pretty. Very powdery and dusty. And I think the 2 of these paired together is actually really, really pretty. And I know that because not too long ago, I decided to knit up a little swatch to see how they would pair. And this is what I have. So pretty. So now, as opposed to the sample that is shown in the pattern page, this is a little bit cooler, but it's very similar. So the mohair that is used in the sample is almost like a super, super pale pink, whereas this is a much cooler, grayish green color. So this is going to tone or kind of cool down the overall effect of this variegated single ply yarn, which I think is going to be really nice. I actually know it's going to look really nice because I can see it right here. And it's going to make for a really pretty neutral sweater with those little bits and pops of color. So that is my swatch for my Terrazzo Sweater by Petite Knit. Now, I'm not sure which of these I will be casting on first. I feel like that one should be casted on first because it's the one I've been talking about, or I have already spoken about. The others here I haven't mentioned before. So I don't know, we'll see which one of these inspires me. But I do know that after I finish the sweater that I have on the needles right now, which if you watch the most recent episode of the podcast, you can hear me talk all about that. I will be casting onto one of these sweaters because it's what I would like to do for 2023, and I really want to kind of move into the year with intention. Okay, so whatever, without further ado, let's talk about my next sweater that I'd like to knit for 2023. And that is actually one that I saw, oh my goodness, Becky, I believe is her name, from the Back to Blighty podcast. She's lovely. Her podcast is lovely. And I want to say it was about a month ago, she did either a vlog or a podcast episode, and she shared her completed Eclair pullover. And I believe it's by Karen Fernandez. Eclair by Karen Fernandez. This sweater is so cool. I feel like it gives you all of that really lovely staple sweater nuance. It seems very, not basic, basic's not the right word, but just simple in all the right ways. But it has these really cool design elements that make it really wearable, especially as a layering piece. So as you can see here, it has this really pretty ribbed hem and border, but otherwise it's just a very basic kind of top-down raglan design with those really pretty like bubble sleeves and the cinched in cuffs. And those cuffs come to the perfect length for that kind of sweater. They hit right at the wrist bones, giving you a really nice kind of delicate feminine sleeve. And I'm really loving that. And then that real deep kind of slit on the side is so cool. And I thought that would be a really cool sweater to wear over obviously button downs like you see in the photo, but like if you had a really nice striped long sleeve t-shirt or some other printed t-shirt that looked really cool, of course you could wear it alone if you wanted to show some skin in warmer, temperatures. But I just think it's super versatile, lots of really cute ways to style that. So that is going to be another sweater that I knit in 2023. And I don't know if you've been paying attention in the last several episodes, but right over here on my ottoman I've had some stacks of yarn, and at one point they were behind me, but those stacks of yarn are actually the yarn that I purchased for the Eclair that I plan on knitting. And this is by Isager. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a Danish yarn company, and this is called Eco Soft. It's a really beautiful yarn. It's what's called for in the pattern. It's what Becky used in hers, and I loved the color she used as well. This is a much more gray, kind of a slate gray color, but this is an alpaca cotton blend. So it's 56% alpaca and 44% organic cotton. And it's so pretty. It has that really nice halo of a brushed alpaca, and you can see, I think if you look in there, you can see that chained core of cotton. It's really, really nice. So this is the yarn that I'm going to be using for the Eclair, giving it a really nice neutral, almost like a sweatshirt gray color. And I think it's going to be really nice. So I have what I need for that sweater locked and loaded, ready to go. So this one, I've been seeing this yarn sitting back there on my ottoman, and I keep thinking that my fingers are so itchy to cast onto the Eclair. So I don't know, this might be the next one. I don't know, who knows? But it's nice to have limitations. It's nice to say, okay, you have 4 sweaters to choose from for 2023. So you can choose whichever one you want to do first, but it has to be from these 4. And it kind of helps to keep you from getting distracted by like the hundreds of pattern ideas that we have coming in all the time between Ravelry and YouTube and social media and whatever. So that's kind of my goal, is to give myself those limitations. So having that, it's kind of fun to figure out which one of these I'm going to cast on first, which brings me to my next one. Okay, a couple of months ago, I mentioned that I had learned of a new local to me, regionally local to me yarn company. And this is a yarn company out of Northern Nevada, and it is called Lovely Valley Wool. So if you've been watching the podcast, you remember me talking about this. It is local Nevada yarn. It's beautiful. It's 100% merino Ramble wool. It's a 2-ply sport weight in the black color. And these, I believe, are undyed. These are just the natural colors, and you can see how lovely and rustic this yarn is. It's dark outside, so I don't have as much natural light coming in, so it's kind of hard to see, but all those little white flecks that you see in there, that's hay, which I love. That makes it super barnyardy, and it's really fantastic. Really loving this. It's rustic, but it's soft at the same time. I can feel the lanolin, maybe some of the spinning oil in there still. It smells really sheepy, and I really love that. I knew that I needed to incorporate this into a sweater for 2023 because I purchased a sweater quantity of it, and I didn't purchase it with any particular sweater in mind at the time, but I didn't want to just let this languish in my stash. So I knew it was my responsibility to come up with a sweater for this, and I came up with one. Now, when I knit this sweater, I do plan on pairing this with a Surrey silky pairing, which is what this yarn is. It's Surrey alpaca and silk, so it's that floofiness. It's very similar to like what a mohair does, except you don't have mohair, and it's much less hairy, and I feel like it's just much more next to skin for me personally. So I knew that I wanted this to be paired with a Surrey. Now I have to kind of come up with what color I want. This is such a really rich, deep black brown color that whatever I layer over the top of this, I want it to add to that depth and richness. I don't want it to detract from that or brighten it up too much. And so I'm thinking I'm going to go with something either in the same color or hue family. What are you doing? You and Pepper are both coming in to say hi. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Go drink some water. I gave it to you on the couch. Are your pants on backwards? Who cares? Will you close my door for me, bud? We're back. So what I was saying was that whatever I pair with the Lovely Valley wool, I want it to be in a similar color family, or I wanted it to have a little bit of a deep, deep emerald green to give this almost like a green vibe. I'm not really sure. I'm still kind of deciding. I'm not sure if I'm going to dye it or if I'm going to purchase it from someplace else. I'm sure I will end up dyeing it because I can't help myself. But that's my plan for the yarn pairing. Now the pattern I'm planning on using that for is the Champagne Cardigan by Petite Knit. Now, I love Petite Knit patterns. I know you hear me talk about those designs all the time. I just love them. The aesthetic is very staple. It's very, it's just right down my alley. And the Champagne Cardigan is just, in my opinion, I feel like it's just that ideal V-neck button down. Well, it's a cardigan, but it's got the really pretty big buttons on it. And it's really hard to find patterns for that style of cardigan. And it's a worsted weight cardigan, so it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of how long it's going to take to knit. But here's the thing about the Champagne Cardigan. I have read, it's a fantastic pattern from what I have read, but it's difficult. I guess there's something about the, it's got an applied button band and you knit it as you go, and there's something kind of complicated about that. And so I know that when I go to knit this cardigan, it's going to be a labor of love. I know it's going to be challenging, but I love this cardigan. I've had this in my favorites for so long. Every time I see it in like the hot right now patterns on Ravelry, I'm kind of just always like, I want that cardigan. I want to just, bite the bullet and knit that. That's my plan for my Lovely Valley wool with a nice Surrey kind of floof to go with it, is the Champagne Cardigan by Petite Knit. So let me know your thoughts on that. I'd like to know if you've ever knit the cardigan before, what your experience was like, because I do know it comes with its own little like complications and challenges, but from what I hear, the finished product is absolutely beautiful. Okay, my last pattern, I shouldn't say pattern because there is no real pattern for this, but the last sweater for 2023, or at least the last on the list in the order I'm giving you right now for 2023, I would like to use the yarn that I have here to do another top-down improvised circular yoke sweater. So the sweater I'm knitting right now is being made with Lion Brand Fisherman's wool. I talk all about the details about it on the previous episode of the podcast. I'm kind of putting together aspects of 3 different sweater patterns I've recently knit into this one improvised sweater. I'm putting, the collar of one design, the yoke of another design, and the body of the third design, kind of all together as like a hodgepodge sweater that I'm improvising as I go to create almost like, I don't know, just like my ideal top-down sweater. So I'm loving the process. I'm loving doing that. And I wanted to do it again, but for this next one, I wanted to kind of keep better track of what I'm doing, take better notes, and potentially provide it as a pattern for people to download. And so the yarn that I'm going to be using for that is yarn I've had in my stash for a while. Each of these were intended for 2 separate sweaters, but those 2 sweaters are being frogged. I no longer have an interest in knitting those 2 sweaters. And so these 2 yarns are going to come together in their own beautiful sweater. And I think that the colors are going to go together really, really nicely. So this is Green Mountain Spinnery. This is the Music line of yarn. It's a DK weight, 100% fine American wool. This is Mean Mr. Mustard, and this is Fiber for the People Surrey Silky in the leather colorway. And here they are together. And I think that's going to make such a beautiful staple top-down circular yoke sweater. So I've knit a lot of raglan seam sweaters. This is a raglan sweater, so you have your seams kind of coming down this way. A circular yoke sweater, which you see a lot of when there's lace work involved or color work involved, is just a big circle that goes around your shoulders, and then you break off for sleeves, and then you knit your body. And there's increasing that happens in there as well. But it happens much more evenly around the yoke, so you get really even increases, and there's not like a distinct seam. So I would like to try doing just a basic stockinette, as far as I know, circular yoke improvised sweater. And my main inspiration is the way that my Magnolia Bloom sweater wears on me. I love the way it wears over my shoulders. Now, granted, that has lots of lace work on it. It's much more open, so it's gonna lay over the shoulders a little bit differently. But I really love the way a circular yoke, when there's some nice ease in there and the fabric is really nice, how it lays over the shoulders. I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain the aesthetic that I'm talking about here, but I just really love the way that looks. So that is my goal for this yarn here. And actually, the thought of improvising another sweater is enticing. I don't think this will be my first sweater when I finish the one I'm working on right now, but it'll be up there because this is just, I don't know, it's really inspiring for me. So I'm just going to call it my improvised circular yoke sweater, but I will be taking notes, just like I'm taking notes on the one I'm working on right now, because I know some folks were asking. I will take notes on what I do with this and hopefully be able to share it, you know, go through the process and then possibly share it or publish it as a pattern. But that's not necessarily what I'm doing this for at all. It's just, if it comes out right and people love it, then why not? So that's my thoughts. But that is my fourth sweater idea for 2023, and that's where I'm at right now. I don't see myself, 4 sweaters in 1 year is a lot for me, so I may not accomplish this, but I figure if I can at least set my goal for 4, if I accomplish half of that, then that's great. That's 2 sweaters. I don't need a million sweaters. I really don't. I don't know anybody who really needs so many sweaters that you're knitting, 5 sweaters a year. I don't know. I have a hard time grappling with that because that's just a lot. So I figure, I would like to have 4 new sweaters because I have some store-bought sweaters in my wardrobe that don't really excite me anymore, but I still wear them because, they're sweaters, and then when it gets cold, I don't have, that many hand knit sweaters. However, I am acquiring more, so those are becoming less necessary, but I would like to replace them with hand knit sweaters. And I think that's kind of my goal, is like for every one of these that I make, one of those can be donated to charity. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Do you have plans on knitting any sweaters going into 2023? Are you thinking about maybe doing your first sweater in 2023? And if so, definitely check out the link below. I have linked down there to my Ravelry favorites bundle for really good patterns for first sweaters. So if you're curious, you can check that out. I do plan on doing a separate midweek ramble about that, but just since we're on this subject, you can definitely check it out if you're thinking about casting onto your first sweater in 2023. But that's it. That's what I have for today. Thank you so much for spending the time listening to me ramble about sweaters and my thoughts for moving into 2023 with hand knit sweaters. As always, it means so much to have you here. If you took value or enjoyed yourself at all during this video, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new things on the channel. Until we meet again, which will be on Sunday for episode 68 of the podcast, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.